Moving on, and the next component we are about to test will be navItem component. This component is responsible for showing these menu items. So let's see how we can test this component. I'm gonna switch over to the editor, open up navItem component and take a look at its markup. For example, we can check that this link element receives proper value in href attribute, and also that this component is going to show up proper label as well as proper icon. So as we usually do, let's duplicate one of the existing files with tests. The new file will be called navItem.test.ts, and right here I'm going to get rid of all other scenarios, leave only one, where I'm going to shallow mount the component called navItem. And here I'm gonna say that we're checking that it renders navItem component properly. So first of all, let's just open up terminal and see what rendered markup of this component looks like. And right away we're getting an error, and that is because we're trying to reference some of the properties of navItem object. And this navItem object is actually a required prop that we have to pass while rendering the component. So first of all, let's just take the first element from the navItems array and assign it to timeline navItem constant. This will be a navItem object that we are going to pass as a prop into a navItem component. The navItem object consists of two fields, page and icon. So in this case, this first object gets passed into first navItem component. Now let's do this in our test. We're going to pass timeline navItem object into navItem prop of navItem component, like this. And after doing this, in the terminal, we no longer see any errors. So let's start to write expectations. In the first expectation, we can check that the text content of the navItem component is going to contain page name, which is stored under page key of the navItem object that we are passing as a prop into navItem component. So right here, let's extract text content of the component and then check that this content actually contains page name. And we're getting the value of the page property from the timeline navItem object that we have passed into the navItem component as a prop before. And in the next expectation, let's also check that this component will contain proper icon that corresponds to timeline navItem. We're going to find icon component firstly by calling findComponent method and pass a component that we are about to find, which in this case is base icon. And then we are about to check that name prop receives proper icon name. So let's just compare the received value of this prop with value of an icon of the timeline navItem component, because every navItem component, as we can see, contains second field called icon, and this field says which icon should be rendered for a particular navItem. And we're seeing that the test is passing. And finally, I'm going to add one more expectation to check that this href attribute also receives proper value. So let's firstly find a element by using find method, and then to receive value of some attribute of this element, we can call method attributes and specify which attribute we are interested in. And then I'm going to compare this value with that expression that we have used for this href attribute. I'm gonna copy over this whole expression and put it in the to-be method call, like so. And this way, we are ensuring that href attribute is going to contain expected value at the end. And the test is still passing, but if I'm going to change the value passed into href attribute, right away we're going to see an error. So this expectation works. Now let's also try to remove the label from navItem component. In this case, we are also supposed to get an error, and we are. So all our expectation test proper behavior. Now it's time to remove the only modifier from this test and check all test execution. All of them are passing. We can move on to the next lesson.